Greetings, everyone. We're getting all set up here for the regular season finale here in the USA Truck Series, and with every truck race that we've had this season, we've got our sprint qualifier to start out the night. I'm giving everyone a little bit of time to start rolling into the stream here. Hopefully everyone's having a good evening, good, I guess, night, since it's in East Coast time right now, right about midnight. Sorry for the late night for some of you. Glad you can make it along for the big main event here. Kind of go down through the list that we got on the front row. We got Richard King and Tashi Gupta starting on the front row. Behind them, we've got newcomer Andre Stefan alongside Taden Berggren. One thing real quick. And then even after that, so the next in line is the 80 of Richard Townsend and the 84 of GP Luxembourg. Andrew Walkner and Haziel Escobar. David Steele and Santi Messi. Jessica Hergeson and Craig Popgris. David Bird and the... It's been a while, I can't quite remember all the names at the moment. I apologize. Jackson Hill, there we go. The 44 of Jackson Hill. And then we've got Nate Newman and Kenyon Hall. James Robert and Jacob Shangle. Noah Hobson and AJ Kosnoff. Nate Gonzalez and Gannon Bird. Matias Nunez and Kat Durham. Quinn Ryan and Josh Drake. Driver Luke and Daniel Paulus. And then at the very back, William Kinsella Jr. and Adam Kraus. Sprint qualifier tonight is 10 laps in length, and every single one of these drivers will have to win their way. Anyone here is going to have to win the main event tonight to make it into the playoffs. Most of them will have to have a little bit of luck to get points-wise high enough into the top 35 in points even. So, for the most part, who we got here is simply trying to race to make it into the main event. There's a lot of excitement here for the season finale, as we've already established who's locked into the first round of 13 going forward. And it's going to be interesting to see who's going to have a good run here for the Winter Championship this season. It'll be before then, we'll be going into the East-West Championship for the summer half, which is going to be really exciting. The one driver definitely is going to be on edge all day today. It's going to be Jack Ross, who is the bubble driver, 13th in on points right now. Any surprise winner would definitely put Jack Ross in a bind. Other drivers in that same crunch zone would be the 09 of Matthew Fastnaught, the 50 50 of Tim Kourting, who actually was in our final 3 championship last year. He's on the edge of not making it, and we got a caution already in this one. And Meeperson, who was also a very high running contender for the championship last year. So early on, we already had a wreck here in the sprint qualifier. I'm not following very closely as... Ooh. 23 of Lotus King connects with David Bird there. That's going to cause David Bird a lot of spots. David Bird was just hoping for a good run here in the sprint qualifier to make it into the main event tonight. He is one of those drivers that if he were able to get a win today, he would be able to make it in because he's so close on the cusp of making it into the top 35 in points. But as it stands, everyone here is outside the top 35 in points already, so I do not think we're going to see someone coming from our sprint qualifier group here making it into the first round of 13. So it looks like it's not going to cost a retirement for anyone. Everyone's going to keep it going. While we're under caution here, I'll do a quick run through the field as we've got Richard King leading over newcomer Andre Stefan. Richard Townsend, Anheuser Wagner definitely would love to start cranking off some good starts here in the Truck Series. He's failed to start so many of them here in 2023. Along with Taden Bergeron right there behind him. Both of them would just love to make the main event today and try to spoil the party. And then you got Tashi Gupta. And our last transfer spot at the moment belongs to GP Luxembourg. On the outside, we've got Jessica Hergeson alongside newcomer Haziel Escobar and David Steele, Craig Popcris, Santi Messi, Nate Newman, Jacob Shangle, and Jackson Hill to round out your top 15. This segment of our series is going to be pretty much obsolete starting when we get into the East-West Championship for the summer segment of our series. We won't have to do sprint qualifiers anymore, which is going to be a wonderful thing for all of these drivers that have failed to make main event starts here in the USA Trucks. The way it's going to work out once we go to the East-West of the series, it's going to be one race will be on the East Coast, and then the next race would be on the West Coast, and we'll have 38 trucks in each division as of right now, and all of these drivers you see on track will be able to make points paying starts, and it's going to flip-flop back and forth between the East and the West. Once we get to the playoff segment of that summer season that we got, then you'll start seeing these sprint qualifiers again as the East and West will combine up against each other. The best of the best will be locked in, the top 20 from the East and the top 20 from the West. Something to that might be more like the top 15 or even the top 10, and then it'll kind of sprinkle in evenly between both sides of the divisions. It's hard to explain. It'll make more sense on paper. The main primary goal of it, though, however, is that we will have everyone will have an opportunity to make main event starts and more meaningful races than a sprint qualifier like this, where if you're not in the top 7, you simply are sent packing. Unfortunately for us tonight, it looks like the sprint qualifier is going to be leached by a lot of caution time here, as we're already halfway through this sprint qualifier. It's going to be probably about 3 laps shootout to determine who's in and who's out. Of course, we're going to have double file restarts, so that should offer up some excitement on this coming restart. The pace light, the truck should turn off the pace lights this time by, and we'll be getting the green on lap 7 of 10. To expedite the game's process, I don't have green-white checkers enabled for the sprint qualifier here, so it could end under caution. Hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully we get to see the final 3 laps under full competition, and whoever wins it gets in and whatnot is on pure speed and rather than pure luck of the draw. Our fill-in driver for the All-Star number 14 ride tonight is going to be You and What Army. That ride has seen about 3 or 4 different drivers between Adam Starr, Adam Gerberian, and You and What Army. So What Army hopefully going to put on a good show in the number 14 truck. The 38 we're going to see is Monty Shangle, driving his own team-owned truck here. And that's going to be something interesting with the East-West Championship next year, or this, next couple months after this season concludes. We'll be having more All-Star rides available, so we'll see more opportunities for possible Cup contenders dipping down into the trucks, or even ARCA drivers that are earning a spot in some prestigious truck races for the next season. So that'll be fun. They're double filing up here, getting ready for the restart. The Pocono track that I have here for NR 2003 often puts up some good racing once they can get lined out. So we're seeing right now, we were able to get half a lap in basically before we saw the first wreck. Hoping for a little bit more competitive laps here going on as the pace truck will pull off here. Next season, we're even going to have some new manufacturers join the fold, with Subaru bringing a truck to the Truck Series and a Honda Ridgeline. It looks like pressing news here, news that's news to the rest of the field. Fastnaught Racing Enterprises will host an all-star seat. I believe that'll be a Toyota entry. So we'll have at least almost one of each manufacturer hosting a all-star ride, which will be pretty neat. So right now, settling out single file, the lights on track still green. Right now, the bubble spot, it looks like, belongs to Jessica Hergeson as Tashi Gupta and Dave Steele fight side by side. This will put us at lap 8 as they come around turn 3 here at Pocono. And like I've already mentioned earlier in the broadcast today, a lot of these drivers are really not racing for much of anything. They're going to get to make a start, but championship hopes are out the window, as most of these drivers will have to do well enough to get into the top 35 in points with a win today if they want to make it to the round of 13. Calculations are slightly off. It looks like Dave Steele is the bubble driver. Anheuser Walkner behind that, along with Tashi Gupta, and then a little further back is Jacob Shangle. Shangle making a move on the inside of that 45 Dodge Ram truck. A little bit of momentum. Looks like Jacob Shangle is going to try to charge into a transfer position here. Gupta dips down low. As you can see, Escobar dipping down low there on Craig Popgris. We're going to have 2 laps to go this time by. We're going to freight train him on the inside, and Escobar with a good move. Looks like he's going to gain about 3 or 4 spots there. Still green. As long as we can stay green to the start-finish line, this race will be regulation without a caution ending it. Tashi Gupta now making a move on the inside of Jacob Shangle. And Escobar from 12th at the finish line last time by. He might be the biggest mover here from 12th to nearly 8th, it looks like. White flag this time by. 1 more lap to go in the sprint qualifier. 12th to 9th, so he's going to have to get by Gupta and Shangle if he wants to make it into the main event here. At the front of the field, it looks like there's not much drama there as Richard King's kind of driving away with it. Andre Stefan definitely first race out, and he's going to make his first career start here at Pocono. It's a big deal for that team. Richard Townsend in second right now will be transferring on. Stefan, Jessica Hergeson, Luxembourg, Berggren, and Shangle are your 7 transfers into the main event tonight. Unfortunately for the rest of the field going home, hopefully they won't have to be dealing with this much longer once we get into the new season this summer, where everyone's going to have meaningful races going forward. It's not the end of the line for sure, it's just the beginning. Unfortunately, David Bird would have been the only guy with an opportunity to really work his way up into the top 35 in points today. He's not even going to be able to make the start in the main event here at Pocono. There's a lot on the line for this regular season finale, as even our points battle for the champion, the regular season champion, it's only 1 point between Chaz Chadwick and Bradley Reim.
favor, just touch all your seatbelts, touch all your connections, touch your Hans. Just make sure. Favor, just touch all your seatbelts, touch all your connections, touch your Hans. Just make sure you get everything like you want it.
Alrighty, so the Veterans 200 here at Pocono tonight. Starting on the front row, we've got championship contender Atley Wiese alongside Tim Kourting, who's going to need a win hopefully here to feel comfortable making it in. Behind them, you got Tom Kourting and Matthew Fastnaught. Then behind them, we got a pair of championship contenders who are locked in, the 16 of Jeffrey Gerald and the 10 of Jordan Walker. Right here, the 2 of Chris Harvey definitely would love to get a win. He's so close right now in points. It's almost impossible for him to point his way in, so he's in a must-win scenario here today at Pocono. Starting alongside KASH, who's locked in. Trevor Walker and Chadwick both locked in. Then you got Gavin Gray and Andre Stefan, Richard Townsend and Bradley Reim, Tim Hansen and Taden Berggren, Nathan Morgan and Jack Ross, Ant Meeperson and Richard King, Brian DeBlank and Chris Hergeson, Al Bunch and the 78 of John Brinker, Krista Cower and Jessica Hergeson, Jack Davis and Avery Farrell, GP Luxembourg and Monty Shangle, Ewan What Army and Phillip Leeds, Jacob Shangle and Colton Smith, Zach Armstrong and Luis Rodriguez, Andrew Moger and Paulo Ladino, Cannon Gage and Gavin Legend, and then at the very back we've got Maggie Reams and Leighton Avyard. Maggie Reams surprisingly was in the championship 13 last season. With her position on track, she's going to have to come from dead last to win it today if she wants to make it in to the playoffs this time around.
3, 2, 1. Gentlemen, start your engine.
80 laps here at Pocono. The 10-lap chunk for the sprint qualifier really was not enough of a gauge to show us just how well these trucks run here. And realistically, in this top 5 right here, we've got 3 drivers in a must-win scenario. Tim Kourting's really on the cusp of not needing a win, but if you look at the drivers around him, Matthew Fastnaught and even his brother Tom Kourting could win this race and potentially knock Tim Kourting out of it. So it's safe to say he's in a must-win scenario here today. Atley Wiese and him go in side by side. Let's jump to the back of the field to make sure they make it through turn 1 all right. Looks like they're going to do just fine making it through the first turn. A lot of 3 wide in the middle pack there. Second turn's always chaotic as well. Ooh, and Taden got a little bit of trouble there. Atley leading the way. Let's take a quick rewind and see exactly what happened to Taden Berggren there. Looked like he might have hit the wall slightly. 61 of Brian DeBlank runs it in a little deep, and they keep it going. It looks like very minimal damage on the 43 truck there. And they gathered it up and keep going on. The one we're going to watch here is the 18 and the 4, who have 1 point separating the two of them. And just like every scenario where that plays out, often they're always on track right alongside of each other. So it's going to be right down to the wire here if these two stay going. Running nose and tail right now, about mid-15. Atley at the front would love to get some extra playoff points if he's able to pull off a win here today. Regardless of how this all plays out, I think the greatest feel-good story towards the end of the season here has got to be Chris Harvey. The guy shows up, misses about the first half of the season, and goes on a tear, securing top 5s, top 10s, and really hasn't shown any letting down yet. He's been driving on a mission here in the USA Truck Series, and he's just a win short of making it into the playoffs at this point. He's got a stacked field around him, bunch of proven winners in the series with Atley Wiese, Tim Kourting, Matthew Fastnaught, and Trevor Walker. And you even look a little further behind him, the 10 of Jordan Walker and the 16 of Jeffrey Gerald. He's going to have to prove it yet again here today if he wants to take home the victory. Tommy Kourting going in on the inside of Atley Wiese, and this will make things interesting. As you got the Kourting brothers now lined up nose to tail. Won't be able to know for certain who is on the chopping block, as I don't have a live tally on the points running. If I could do that, I would definitely keep you all updated on who I would basically nose in and out. But since I can't do that, we're only going to have to presume who's in and out. And based on how the points are set up going into this race, Jack Ross having basically the most to lose here today, Jack Ross would have to beat Ant Meeperson by 20 spots. Ant Meeperson's out there running currently in 14th. Jack Ross in 19th. So Jack Ross would be on the bubble if someone outside the top 13 in points gets the win today. But even so, we got Tim Kourting now leading the way, and that won't make a difference for Jack Ross, as Tim Kourting's already 9th in the points, and that wouldn't bump Jack Ross out. Talking about commentator's curse, I had witnessed that in reality when I went to the racetrack the other night, and every time the track PA would talk about someone on track, it seemed like there was always something that was going to go wrong, and they were batting 1,000 last night for the track commentator's curse. Every time someone was leading, or if someone was making some charge through the field, they'd mention their name, and they'd either get in a wreck, blow up, or pull off the field with some kind of mechanical error. No, it's a real deal. I believe in it wholeheartedly. That's why I'm treading very lightly. I wanna deliver the story, but at the same time, I don't want to jinx anyone either. That's a pretty neat story with basically the Kourting brothers, almost in identical powered trucks. really setting the field on fire the last couple weeks between the two of them. Tom came in late here, but Tim has had a rough season this year. Tim at this point had already gotten 2 wins and locked himself into the playoffs, and it's crazy to think that he's on the border of not possibly making the first round of the playoffs here. Looks like Bradley Reim's a little bit further back now, and Chadwick's in this first group amongst the top 10. So Chadwick, based on how they're running, would be the regular season points leader, live leader on field. The one thing that Pocono often provides us with is some pit strategy in the middle segments of the race. As long as we get some green flag pit stops, there's a lot that can shuffle up with the pit stops. Pocono is probably the closest oval to being a road course, the way that they can run gas mileage and strategies here. It's crazy to think that an oval can be treated like a road course, but the distance and the obscurity of the shape of Pocono often lends itself to some road course tactics. And even then, we see a lot of people run out of gas here at Pocono, just trying to make it around the 2-mile track, pushing it just as hard as they can to try and make things, make the numbers and not run out of gas. It's often a tough one. We got a pretty eclectic mix here at the front. Andre Stefan, in his first ever start, running amongst the championship contenders here in that number 56 Ford entry. First race in the series. Definitely a big surprise to the rest of the field. I don't think anyone expected a newcomer. It's a lot of what we've seen this year is newcomers just showing up and showing the rest of the field what they got. The last time we were here at Pocono, it was actually the round of 6 finale where we cut them down into the final 3 for the 2022 championship. As we've got a pass there being made, Trevor Walker getting by Tom Kourting, running side by side and down the backstretch, going into turn 3. It looks like Trevor's going to be able to secure that spot pretty easily. So now we got Trevor Walker up to second, who, if he's able to win the race, would have the largest points tally of playoff points going into the first round of the playoffs. But as I was saying, our last time we were here at Pocono was actually the round of 6 finale. And Guido Piano, which was our champion last year, the only reason we don't see him in the Truck Series this year is he got graduated right up into Cup after winning the Truck Championship. He won the race at Pocono in a must-win scenario. So it seems like we get to Pocono and we basically put up these must-win scenarios, and it gives us some very action-packed racing. As you see Tom Kourting making a pass back on Trevor Walker here. Tim Kourting in the lead, just smiling from ear to ear as these guys race behind him. Allows him to kind of establish a decent lead at the front. Guido Piano with the must-win scenario last year, as we saw and remember. He had to win to make it into the next round of the playoffs, and did so. Made it into the round of 3, knocking out a contender of Jordan Walker that we thought was going to be one of the ones that was going to take it to the wire. But Guido Piano shocked the world. Best of, the top 6 we had the 6th place driver win his way in, and then goes and shows up at Talladega, and all he had to do was beat the other 2 guys and wound up winning Talladega too to win the championship. Trevor made a comment, sounds like with the Walker brothers locked in, he wants that to be the curse crusher. We've seen some bad curses, or maybe not curse, it's not to the extent of that, but just bad luck with the Walker brothers. As I'd mentioned just previously, Jordan Walker was in a position to make it into the final 3 last year, and bad luck struck when Guido Piano from 6th place out of the final 6 won the race and knocked Jordan Walker out of a championship battle in Talladega. Not as much on the line here today at Pocono, unlike the elimination round we saw last time here, but still a lot on the line here, especially when we got the 18 of Chadwick, 1 point behind the number 4 of Bradley Reim, and they're still running right next. Well, they're about several car lengths away from each other, but position-wise, 10th and 11th, only 1 spot separating them. The way that the points work in this, that would be enough for Chadwick to earn enough points to beat even a tiebreaker. They're not a full 43, 42, 41 like the Cup Series is. The win is worth 50, and it kind of gradually falls off from there until you get to about 25th place, where it's all 1 point for everyone, 25th on back in the points. Jordan Walker losing a little bit of ground there as Chadwick peaks on the inside, the 10 Toyota Tundra. Tim Kourting still leading. Trevor Walker in 2nd, holding off Tom Kourting for now. Atley Wiese making a move on the inside of the 90 truck. Wow, Andre Stefan in his first ever start here in the USA Truck Series, and he's turned the fastest lap so far in 15 laps contested. Sadly, with a win, Andre Stefan would not make it into the round of 13, since this is only his first start in the USA Truck Series. Still would be a spoiler. It would keep someone else like Tom Kourting from winning his way through, or play spoiler for someone like Chris Harvey, and maybe even help boost the chances of Matthew Fastnaught, Tim Kourting, and Jack Ross. Jack Ross also needs to stay ahead of, well, he's got that one secured. So Jack Ross is on an island of his own. The only way he can get knocked out is if there's a winner from outside the top 13 in points. Jack Ross actually has a 70-point lead over Gavin Gray, who would have to win. Chris Harvey 189 points back, so neither of those drivers with more than 50 points separating them from Jack Ross can point their way in. In the meantime, we've got 3 drivers leading the field, that one of which hasn't won, but the other 2, and Atley Wiese and Trevor Walker, have both won 2 apiece this season already. Andre Stefan up to 3rd, making some moves. as now we've got a 2-truck breakaway with Tim Kourting and Atley Wiese kind of cruising away from third on back. We can see that the incentive is there for Tim Kourting to win this race, even if there's a driver behind him that won't knock him out of contention. Getting a win here today would give him 5 bonus points in that first round of the playoffs, which will be huge, especially since with the elimination style playoffs, you want to have as many points early so that you can keep yourself away from the elimination bubble. Man, Andre Stefan making another pass here, getting up to second. That is beyond crazy what we're seeing here from Andre Stefan. Chadwick and Reim definitely making things interesting as they're keeping themselves right in one spot separated. Big improvement there for Jack Ross, who's worked his way all the way up to 12th. This could potentially put Meeperson on the bubble depending on who wins the race now. As Jack Ross, like mentioned, would have to beat Meeperson by 20 points. And with that, the way our point standings are, that could be anywhere from 10 to 15 spots to span that gap. Currently running 6 spots better than Meeperson, who's in 19th. If Meeperson falls back to 26th, he would probably only get 1 point. And Jack Ross in 12th, it's getting close to where he'd get about 25 points. And that would put Meeperson on that bubble. And someone like Tom Kourting here or Chris Harvey getting a win would actually eliminate Meeperson instead of Jack Ross. Matthew Fastnaught is doing what he must. Even if he's not able to get a win today, keeping a top 5, top 10 finish, it's going to get him enough points to stay above the cut line, which would be Jack Ross and Meeperson. He's got nothing to worry about as long as he stays here in this top 10. And any of the non-winners could get a win and he would still be safe. Bradley Reim's losing some position. Looks like Al Bunch and Jack Ross possibly got by him. The action at the front of the field here kind of lightening up a little bit as we've strung out single file for the most part. Ooh, and we got a pass for the lead being made here. Atley Wiese wants to take that lead away. Let that Dodge horsepower outpace the Ford F-150 of Tim Kourting. And going through turn 3, Tim Kourting is going to get slotted back into second here as Atley steals the lead away from him on lap 23. Tom Kourting peeks out on the inside. Looks like he's going to make a pass here on Tim for second. That opens the door for Andre Stefan and Trevor Walker. Walker on the outside, the Kourting brothers side by side. And Tim settles into second here. Looks like Tim's got a little bit of momentum. The draft helping him mount a charge on that 19 truck. Tim Kourting is going to want to take that lead back. Strong run there from the number 50 truck as he's not giving Atley much room. And Tim Kourting is actually going to lead the lap next time by. So we got some good back and forth racing for the lead here. And we're not even close to halfway through. Still, the fastest lap belongs to the 56 truck of Andre Stefan. It's been confirmed that Andre Stefan is going to be part of the JSR stables, the Jacob Schenkel Racing, not to be confused with Jesse Saturn Racing, as we've got 2 JSR teams in the series. But with the Ford JSR team, he's going to be racing this very 56 Ford truck for Jacob Schenkel Racing in the 2023 summer season. So that's a good seat to get into, especially looking how he's running with backup equipment from Jacob Schenkel Racing, a chassis that was featured last season, and outrunning and outpacing even the current generation of JSR trucks on field. So it's been highly publicized in the series, but Chevy has yet to win any points-paying race here in the USA Truck Series. And today, as we can see, most of the front of the field, Ford, Dodge, and Toyota, are near Chevy. We're going to have to go about mid-pack yet again to find the nearest Chevy. Wow, even deeper than mid-pack. Our highest running Chevy all the way in 30th with Colton Smith. It's going to be a tall order for him to find his way to victory lane today. GP Luxembourg, Paulo Ladino, and sadly for Cannon Gage, this truck was being run strong by Mike Bliss Jr., but the truck's still struggling to get momentum and speed with Cannon Gage behind the wheel. It's been a rough start in this new entry for Cannon Gage. He's been able to start every race, but still trying to figure out the pace of this 81 Chevy Silverado. Ford has not been as dominant this season as they were last year. It's basically been the Dodge show at the front of the field along with Toyota. If you're talking the Walker brothers, who have basically accumulated most of the wins for Toyota. And then every Dodge camp has seen victory lane, it seems like, between Owl Bunch Incorporated, Mopar Motorsports, Railfan Motorsports, and LFG Motorsports. All four of those teams have seen victory lane and are running the Dodge Ram on track. But a little bit of momentum for the Ford camp here today, as we've got 3 of the top 5, all Ford-powered engines. Chadwick up to 5th now. That's a big improvement from where he was running about 10th earlier. He wants to put a big capital exclamation point on the end of the regular season here. And instead of just winning the regular season, would love to get another win and more precious bonus points going into the first round of the playoffs. Kourting brothers back at the front running 1-2 again. Atley Wiese in 3rd. Andre Stefan in 4th. Chaz Chadwick in 5th. Matthew Fastnaught in 6th. And Trevor Walker in 7th. Right now it seems on the radio for the number 2 team, their goal is to make some adjustments on the pit stop if we can stay green for the first round of green flag pit stops, and wants to get slightly off strategy from the rest of the folks. See, it dropped in there, David Bird. Unfortunately, you had a bit of an accident. You got caught up in a wreck in the very initial lap of the sprint qualifier. That dropped you all the way to the back, and it was pretty much futile at that point. You would have been one of the only drivers, if you were to make it out of the sprint qualifier, with a good shot at winning today to make it into the first round of the playoffs, but it was all for naught. Have a good night. Tim Kourting leading over Atley Wiese. Tom Kourting looks like the lead, swapping hands here as Atley Wiese peeks on the inside. Atley taking the lead back as we've got 50 laps to go. There's still a lot of racing. We're 10 laps shy of halfway here. And pit strategy is going to be king. It's really going to determine the outcome of this race as Tim makes a pass back and forth. These two have been duking it out all day here at Pocono so far. And Tom Kourting, it's like, yeah, I'll take a chance and make a move here too. It's amazing. We've been green for the entire start of this race here for the Veterans 200. As you can see, Jordan Walker has lost the main draft. He's fallen all the way back. And we only have about a 10-truck front pack here. 9 trucks in the lead draft. What I might do before I kill the stream tonight, I might tally up the points. I might just put some music on in the background, and I'll give confirmation on who's in and who's out, and I'll open up the chat room on Discord to anyone who wants to chime in on the finale, what they want to talk about, what they want to be interviewed on, kind of thing. But yeah, we'll just keep the live stream going so that we can. Atley Wiese pitting way early here. This is going to put him at about lap 66 on his last pit stop. Perhaps unscheduled. No, it looks like it's scheduled. We did have the 43 of Taden Bergeron with some engine damage, and that put him out of the race with a damaged header. So we only have 41 trucks left running here. Atley Wiese making his pit stop this early. It's gonna be interesting to see how that plays out. The drivers that were wanting to get off strategy, you're thinking someone like Chris Harvey would probably benefit more from making an early pit stop here. And it looks like maybe Chris Harvey will be pitting this time by, along with majority of the other leaders. Trevor Walker staying out. Chadwick stays out, gets a lead lap, and that's huge for the playoff point standings, as that's going to give him some bonus points that Bradley Reim does not have. Staying out later, though, this could potentially cause him to lose some momentum to the rest of the field the longer he stays out without pitting. Kind of have to wonder, the crazy part is if someone can make it 5 more laps, they could make it on 1 more pit stop if they're hitting all their numbers, but the pit stops fall just weird enough here at Pocono that 35 will put you about as good as lap 70 of 80, so you'll be pitting with 10 laps to go. Andre Stefan staying out 1 more lap is going to push him to lap 36. And tentatively, lap 72 for his last pit stop. Andre Stefan leads his first ever career lap here in the USA Trucks in his first career start. Now, if we get a caution right here, this would really mess up the whole running of the field, as Andre Stefan is likely on a lap of his own by staying out this late in the green flag run. You can see the momentum of the fresher tires with Richard Townsend right behind him. It's going to make it look like Andre's sitting still in that 56 truck. And I do believe he's committing to pit road this time by. So the 56 pushes his pit strategy the furthest, and we'll have to see how that plays out for the 56 camp. The one that pitted first was Atley Wiese, and we're going to have to see how that worked out for him. Looks like Atley and Tim, Jeffrey and Tom. That looks to be our top 4 right now. I don't see Chris Harvey. Wow, Chris Harvey lost the lead draft there. He's tentatively 5th. But that'll be your top 4 with Tim Kourting, Atley Wiese, Jeffrey Gerald, and Tom Kourting. Chris Harvey, Trevor Walker, Matthew Fastnaught, and Chaz Chadwick kind of strung out behind them. 3 wide for the lead as Jeffrey Gerald pushes the envelope here. Tim Kourting has to let up, and Atley gets the lead out of that scrummage. Jeffrey Gerald, also one of those intriguing stories similar to Chris Harvey, coming in late in the season and winning one race so far. That one win and getting up into the top 30 in points has secured him a playoff berth in his inaugural first career season. If he is able to get another win, that'll give him 5 more bonus points going into the round of 13. Tim Kourting fighting Atley again. This is going to be a vintage battle between these two. We've seen since the green flag dropped, basically. These two seem to swap the lead back and forth almost once a lap. Tim Kourting takes the lead back, and Jeffrey Gerald on the inside looks like he's going to get by Atley Wiese. Tom Kourting stuck behind the two of them. And back in 5th, it looks like Andre Stefan with that extended strategy made the best of it and still came out in 5th there. We still have a solid 4-truck fight for the win, even though we might have lost the majority of the top 10 at the front of the field. The one other thing we were looking at is Chadwick in relation to Bradley Reim. Chadwick's running 9th. Bradley Reim's running 13th. Jack Ross up to 12th. And Ant Meeperson sitting in 20th. It's going to be close between Jack Ross and Ant Meeperson on who's going to be on that 13th spot bubble. One-off start for You and What Army. We see him about mid-pack in 23rd. Brian DeBlanc with a little bit of a struggle here today at Pocono, running in 28th. Settles back in front of Monty Shangle for 27th. And we've still been caution-free for the entirety of this race, and we're already halfway through here on lap 40 of 80. Atley Wiese leading the way over Tim Kourting. And we've had a new fastest lap that's moved around a little bit. It's no longer Andre Stefan. Current fast lap belongs to Trevor Walker, who's in that second pack. As you can see, we've got about 2 packs of 4, the first pack and the second pack. The fast laps are coming from that second pack, it looks like, between Matthew Fastnaught, Trevor Walker, and Chris Harvey. Matthew Fastnaught had fastest lap there for a brief moment, so we've got the fastest trucks here in the second group, and hopefully they can close the gap of 3 to 4 seconds on the leaders and get back in the mix here before it's over. Andre Stefan at the lead of this pack, running 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th behind him. And lap traffic's going to start to become a factor here, as you see the lead pack catching up to the rear end of the field. That's going to put a wrinkle in the fold. Still pretty sizable distance ahead of them, but with 38 laps to go, they'll probably catch them with about 20 to go. Of course, as long as this race stays green, which I'm not seeing anything that's going to indicate a caution. The way these guys are running, it's a very clean race here today at Pocono with very minimal contact. Great racing nonetheless, as we've seen the lead swap hands so many times already through the first half of the race. Atley Wiese and Tim Kourting definitely putting on a good show for the fans that made it to the stands here in Pocono. And our second round of pit stops, as long as this race stays green, would likely be pit window of laps 64 to 72. And I highly doubt anyone's going to get 8 laps extra fuel. So I don't think we're going to see anyone stretch it all the way to the finish. But we're going to have about 8 to 12 laps where we're going to have 8 to 12 laps to go. And we'll start seeing pit stops again. Of course, we all know Atley Wiese did the undercut, pitting first. He's actually been able to undercut and still come out with the lead. So apparently Atley just has that strong of a truck here today. It was pit strategy last time we were here that ended up giving Guido Piano the race win and ultimately the championship 3 berth that we saw. Had strategy not played out, I don't think Guido Piano would have had a chance. And that to me is what makes Pocono such a fascinating race. It's a chess game at 180 miles. And it really does come down to the crew chief on the inside of the track sitting on the pit box to make the right calls here today. Matthew Fastnaught gets by Andre Stefan, and so now it's Matthew Fastnaught in 5th, leading that second group of drivers. In the next couple of days, we will see the Busch regular season championship come to an end. Of course, the Cup Series, we have a full season of racing with them, so we won't have any kind of special race for the Cup Series this week. Tim Kourting fighting back again here on the inside of Atley Wiese. Atley with a little bit of muscle on that outside though is going to drive it back around him. Tim Kourting takes the lead away from Atley, and they're still getting ever so closer to that lap traffic in front of them. And that should allow for that second group, including Trevor Walker, Fastnaught, Harvey, and Stefan to catch up to them. So in the next couple days, the Busch Series is going to take to Pocono here to crown their regular season champion. And then in the Sylvania Cup Series, we're actually going to be going to the fictional road course of Papyrus. And if you don't know what Papyrus is, it's kind of like a super speedway meets a road course. And it has been seen of the closest finish in the Sylvania Cup Series that we saw back in 2020, where the actual margin of victory was 0.0000, and with camera evidence and video footage, it took a couple days to actually confirm that Tyler Shangle was the winner on that one. Lap traffic now a factor here with 33 laps to go as they get around the 42. And it's going to cause a little bit of disturbance amongst this top four drivers. Leighton Avyard just trying to hang on, finish this race. Now a lap down in that Chevy. Jeffrey Gerald making the pass on him now, and that'll leave Tom Kourting to get around him. Matthew Fastnaught leads that second group. But our lead four, they're going to have to slow their roll here. And our second group, I do believe, is going to have an opportunity to catch up. We've still run about 50 laps here, no cautions. This has been a green flag from start to lap 50 here without any cautions. At this point, you got to wonder if there's some drivers that may roll the dice and pit early, knowing that 30 laps is all they're going to need in gas to make to the finish. Right now, 30 laps to go would be the safe spot for anyone that wants to, but of course, very few people are going to execute that strategy because they don't want a caution to come out and trap them losing track position. So I do imagine we're going to see everyone stretch it to that lap 68 to 72 mark to avoid losing any track position on field here. If this was real life and not NR 2003, there would definitely be a bunch of drivers towards the back of the field making pit stops right now to try and capitalize on making it without running out of gas. Atley's having some trouble making it through the lap traffic here as Tom Kourting, and Jeffrey Gerald have been able to make a lot of moves through the traffic here. Tim leading Tom Kourting now up to second, and Jeffrey Gerald in third. Atley Wiese has fallen furthest back he's been in a while, all the way to fourth. And our second pack is right there in the midst of it all. As long as they can travel around the lap traffic, they're going to be in striking distance of the lead. Tim, Tom, Jeffrey, and Atley. And then Matthew in fifth. Actually, Trevor in fifth. The laps are clipping off pretty quickly here, as we've got 27 laps to go now. Our lead four has clear track in front of them after getting by all that lap traffic. And now it's Trevor Walker and that second group's chance to try and get through that same lap traffic. Really, the only driver that's going to be interesting with pit strategy stuff will be Andre Stefan here in the 56 truck. He waited the longest all the way to lap 36 before pitting. And with that, he could technically stretch it to lap 72 and just come down for a brief gas and go on his last pit stop. If he actually stretches it to lap 72 and we see that, he could come out with the lead, you know, in non-fresh tires, just full tank of gas or slightly full tank of gas. Strategy could be the game on that 56 truck. And that could go for a couple of these drivers in the second pack, especially Chris Harvey, who had pitted one lap earlier on lap 35. He could stretch it to lap 70. And maybe even lap 71 if he's maybe conserving some fuel here. And do a quick gas and go with about 10 to 9 laps to go. Of course, our top four here. Atley Wiese, doesn't matter to him. He pitted shortcut on his pit stop. And he's going to have to pit again on lap 64 most likely. And he don't care. He's just got the speed and the pace to outpace everyone on track. He's trying to eliminate the strategy part of things and just race for the win here today. Tom Kourting in that 90 truck is a must-win scenario. And if he wins it here today, he would knock out most likely Jack Ross or Ant Meeperson from contention. Which we'll double check and see where Ant Meeperson and Jack Ross are respectively on track. Ant Meeperson in 19th. Jack Ross in 14th. Pretty sure based on how they're running right there, Jack Ross would be the one out of the playoffs with a Tom Kourting win. Chadwick is losing his momentum and falling into the grasp of the pack that includes his title contender of Bradley Reim. So if Bradley Reim is able to get by Chaz Chadwick, that would give Bradley Reim the regular season championship going into the first round of the playoffs, which would be a huge point bonus in that round of 13 and any future rounds that he's able to convert over to. Alrighty, our lead pack. All 8 of these drivers back into the lead draft here as they've gotten by most of the lap traffic. And Trevor Walker right there behind Jeffrey Gerald. Atley Wiese leading over the 2 Kourting brothers, Jeffrey Gerald and Trevor Walker. As they put the 81 of Cannon Gage a lap down. I do believe that is a second lap down for that 81 truck maybe. Nope. it's his first lap down. We've had plenty of action-packed racing at the front of the field here. And still setting up for a potentially surprise winner, as Tom Kourting has been showing that he wants it pretty badly here today. Andre Stefan, Tim Kourting, Matthew Fastnaught, all of which should be a new winner this season in 2023. All sitting in the top 8 right now. Oh, and not to forget Chris Harvey too. I named off all those names and didn't mention Chris Harvey, who still with a decent shot here to get a win and a lock into the round of 13 if he could somehow pull it off. Once we get to about lap 65, that's going to be where our pit windows start to open back up, and we'll likely see Atley Wiese to be one of the first ones to come down pit road around lap 65 to 68 would be my guess. Then the next round after that, 65 to 69, we would see the likes of Tim and Tom Kourting. Then the next round, the 66 to 70, drivers like Harvey, Fastnaught, and realistically the 68 to 72, Andre Stefan, if he's able to push it that far, could be the winning strategy for that 56 Ally Ford F-150. Tim Kourting making a move, getting back up to the lead here on Atley Wiese. Atley fighting on the outside. Looks like he's going to have to settle back down here, as he's going to lose position to Tim and under attack by Tom. Trevor Walker up to 4th as he drives around Jeffrey Gerald. Getting by Jeffrey Gerald, stuck behind the lap traffic of Paul Ladino, cuts down low in front of the 16 truck. And Trevor Walker has got momentum in his favor right now. At this point, I'm starting to believe that the degradation of tires is kicking in, and we're seeing some of these drivers that have been out there the longest on their set of tires are starting to lose ground, and those that have maybe a lap or two fresher tires moving to the front. Definitely Trevor Walker has just a few laps fresher tires than this lead 3. Everyone has fresher tires than the 19 of Atley Wiese. Oh, and Tom Kourting is our first taker down pit road, opening up the early pit session here on lap 61. This could be an interesting one. This would push the envelope for everyone else to start coming down pit road earlier and earlier. He's taken 4 fresh tires and a full tank of gas, it looks like. Tom Kourting wants to go for the win here today, not just try to luck out with the top 5. Chadwick joins him on pit road here. And our final round of pit stops, this is going to be make or break for everyone. Yep, just like that, it pushed the envelope that these other guys had to pit the next lap by. You got Atley Wiese, Chris Harvey, Matthew Fastnaught, Jeffrey Gerald. That leaves with our lead trio right now of Tim Kourting, Trevor Walker, and Stefan. And Stefan's the one I was saying that's going to make things interesting here, is he's going to try to play the fuel mileage game and outlast the rest of the field. Based on his first pit stop, he should be able to stretch it all the way to lap 72, which would be a long stretch for that 56 truck. And if he pulls it off, he could just come down pit road for a very quick gas and go. As you can see, he's 2 seconds off with his lap times, and he's going to need most likely a miracle for this strategy to work out. What he did not predict was for people to start making early pit stops like they were. That's going to put a little bit of pressure on the strategy for him. Now, and he's going to actually come down pit road now. He knows that the strategy is kind of defunct after everyone else pitted so early. This is going to mean that everyone's going to be able to make it to the finish. And Andre Stefan knows that this could be still a good finish for him, probably a top 5 or top 10 if he plays his cards right. With 16 laps to go, that's a lot without fresh tires, and the speeds of the drivers with fresh tires is definitely going to eat his lunch if he was to follow out that strategy all the way. Oh no, and we've got a caution during this round of pit stops, and that's going to really shake everything up. We're going to have to figure out who was the cause of the caution here. The 42 truck has a little bit of trouble. Looks like it's the 16 of Jeffrey Gerald that gets spun out. So our championship contenders, Jeffrey Gerald makes contact with the 50 of Tim Kourting, spinning him out, causing significant damage, I'm assuming, to that truck. And we're going to get our first caution in the race here at lap 65. Credited with the lead is Andre Stefan for sticking it out as long as he did. Trapped a lap down is going to be okay, so they recycled back around and Andre Stefan falls back to 6th. Current leader is Jordan Walker, who I believe is on pit road right now, so he's going to relinquish that lead to Tom Kourting. It's going to take a little while for things to get sorted here because of that caution falling during green flag pit stops. The lead group here is going to be lap traffic, drivers that were about to go lap down. 34th. There we go. Our first place driver is Tom Kourting, followed by Atley Wiese, Tim Kourting, Trevor Walker, and Andre Stefan. So the lead positions actually did not get too shaken up, as the caution came at the end of the green flag segment of pit stops. Good thing is, everyone should be able to make it to the finish now, as they've gotten fresh gas and fresh rubber on those tires. The big victim in all of this was the 16 of Jeffrey Gerald, who'd gotten spun out. Jeffrey Gerald was in the top 5 fighting for the win here today. Looks like he's going to get knocked back into about the top 15. Actually, he's only going to fall back to 9th because of so much of the lap traffic that's in between all the drivers here. Lights stay on the pace truck this time by. We're going to have at least another lap under caution. And if everything stopped right now, Tom Kourting would win his way in to the round of 13. And the one that would get knocked out would be the 13. I believe the 13 of Meeperson would be nope, it would be the 00 of Jack Ross, as the 13 of Meeperson is actually in front of him. Once the lights go off on the pace truck, all of this lap traffic should drop to the back, I'd imagine. Or what will happen is these guys will be double file with the leaders behind them. Don't know if Better Cautions knows how to come about this when you've got a caution during green flag pit stops that traps your lap traffic right on the end of the lead lap in front of the leaders like this. We've seen this happen a few times where the game really does not know what to do, as Better Cautions did not equate for such a scenario when you have your drivers that are about to go a lap down segmented in front of the leaders. Lights should go off on the pace truck, and our leaders will actually, yep, they'll make it all right here. Those guys are going to get trapped a lap down as our leaders cycle back to the front. That's the best way to do it. Safest way and the most opportune way for an exciting finish here today, as 28th on back is 1 lap down. That leaves us with 26 trucks on the lead lap. They're going to get double filed up once they come around turns 2 and 3. Ultimately, this caution will give drivers like Chris Harvey another opportunity here to try and fight for the win. And perhaps even a driver like Bradley Reim to make up some spots and potentially take the points lead away from Chaz Chadwick, who's in the top 10 right now. Seems that the 16 truck ain't any worse for the wear after getting in that wreck that brought out the caution. Still slated in 8th place right now. Going to restart in 8th and still hopefully have a good shot getting a good finish here today. Andre Stefan in his first career start, sitting in the top 5. Having this inside line is huge on the restart, as it should allow for possibly some good passing at the front of the field here. Pace truck will pull off, as all of these guys are going to have at least another restart here. Green flag waving. Tom Kourting and Atley Wiese on a drag race with the longest front straight that we see in the series. Pocono's one of, if not the longest, oval front straights that we go to. Ooh, and Meeperson wants to shake things up here. He's not content with simply surviving on the bubble. He wants to get to the front and fight for the win here. Right now behind Chris Harvey, perhaps going to give Chris Harvey a little bit of some bump drafting there down the side straight, back side of the track. Right now it's do or die for a lot of these drivers. Chris Harvey, Andre Stefan, look at that. Jack Ross peeking his way into the picture here. Tom Kourting still leading the way right now. Andre Stefan, a little bit of trouble there for him as he's dropping backwards. But here we go. We got Chris Harvey creeping into the picture. Meeperson trying to reclaim some of his glory from last season. Oh, and we got a caution here as they're going to come to the start-finish line, leading the Kourting brothers over Atley Wiese, Matthew Fastnaught, and Trevor Walker. The caution looks to be for the 40 truck of Jessica Hergeson, whose truck looks a little bit rough. Yeah, we had a big pile up at the backside of the field here. And was it potentially some title contenders involved? Oh, Bradley Reim involved in this one. Doesn't look like he gets a lot of damage, but still making his day more difficult. He's going to need to get all the positions he can to try and win the regular season championship. There's going to be a lot to unpack here in this wreck. Looks like Bradley Reim's able to continue on. But this all started with Bradley Reim as the sandwich meat in the middle. We've got him on the outside, but behind him is the 20 of Gavin Gray. Gavin Gray peeks his nose on the inside, clipping Bradley Reim and getting turned by Ewan What Army. In this process, Monty Shangle, Jacob Shangle, Jessica Hergeson, Colton Smith, Luis Rodriguez, Phillip Leeds, to name a few, were all involved in the wreck. And this is going to give us another restart here today with about 8 laps to go. Green-white checker has been implemented, so we could potentially see some green-white checker action at the end of this one. Try to get as many angles on this wreck as possible. The 20 of Gavin Gray was the prime catalyst for this wreck. The majority of the damage came in the mid-pack there. Monty Shangle looks like he took some of the hardest damage there on the 38 truck, as he simply had nowhere to go. Coming into turn 3, car's spinning out right around him, gets collected. Decent save for Brian DeBlanc there. And Jessica Hergeson, I think, gets partially one of the worst ends of it, as she comes in and has nowhere to go, getting clipped there by Maggie Reams and Gavin Legend. 41 of Richard King tried to let up. And Al Bunch got clipped too. There's just a lot going on there. Shame both Hergeson entries got involved in that one. Chris and Jessica Hergeson. Chris Hergeson looks like he gets one of the better saves here, as we'll hop in the cockpit with him. Still a pretty hard hit on the 38. He's able to slow down and drive around all the carnage here with minimal damage on his truck. So oh, and there was a little bit more extracurricular at the end of the wreck there, as Jacob and Monty so this wreck continued on to the front straightaway as Jacob connects with his dad there, spinning out on the front stretch. Looks to be a 2-truck spin out is all that was. So all of that, and now Bradley Reim with enough damage on his truck. I don't see how he took that much damage, but apparently enough frontal impact on that Ford truck caused him to go down pit road and get his hood removed. As you can see here, come down pit road, he's going to get repairs made, hood removed, and he's going to be restarting in 25th now. Last truck on the lead lap. His contender for that regular season championship win, Chadwick, in 10th. It's looking more and more likely that Chadwick's going to get it done here today and win the regular season championship. But the intriguing part is how many drivers we still have that are fighting for the win, that's going to try to win and get their way in. Tom Kourting and Tim Kourting lead. Then you got Atley Wiese, Matthew Fastnaught, Trevor Walker, Chris Harvey, Ant Meeperson, Andre Stefan, Jack Ross, and Chaz Chadwick as your top 10. And at the conclusion of this one, I will keep the stream going as I tally up the point standings and figure out who's in and who's out. We only have 5 laps to go to crown the winner here today at Pocono and crowning our regular season championship, as it's going to come down to the wire here. Chadwick currently holding the lead over Bradley Reim for the championship lead for the regular season finale. Going into turn 1, the Tim Kourting brothers side by side. Atley Wiese cracking on the inside. 2x2x2. Noah's Ark rolls through turn 1, coming onto the backstretch here. Meeperson, Chadwick making some moves to the inside. Fastnaught on the outside, as well as Chris Harvey on the outside. Jack Ross in the picture here, really sweating bullets as Tom Kourting leads the race. This lead for Tom Kourting and win would knock Jack Ross out of the playoffs. Even at this point, Jack Ross's only savior would be if Meeperson blew up in the closing laps here and gave Jack Ross 20 points over Meeperson. Jack Ross's hero or villain could be that number 13 truck. If Meeperson was able to pull off the win and take that win away from Tom Kourting, Jack Ross would actually be in the playoffs. Actually, any of these 4 or 5 drivers in the top 5, if they're able to get by Tom Kourting, that would be the icing on the cake for Jack Ross, as none of them would knock Jack Ross out with a win. Tom Kourting with the lead is the only thing that Jack Ross does not need. As we cross the finish line, this time 4 laps to go. We've got our bed made. This is going to be your fight to the finish, as we've got the most trucks competing at the end of the race here, running at the front of the field in contention for the win. We haven't really seen the dominance out of Tom Kourting all day. The dominance is laid with Tim Kourting and Atley Wiese the whole day, as they've duked it out and fought back and forth with each other for the lead. Chadwick on the outside of Andre Stefan. Chris Harvey is going to have to throw a Hail Mary here if he wants to make it into the playoffs. Sitting in 8th, he's going to have to get by everyone in front of him to take home the victory today in a must-win situation. Atley Wiese taking the spot from Tom Kourting at the front as they're 2x2, and now Tim Kourting making it 3 wide for that lead. This could get interesting, as we've got 3 laps to go this time by. The excitement is ramping up for the finish here. Atley, with 2 wins on the season already, would add a 3rd win to his tally for 2023 if he's able to pull it off here. Tim Kourting would simply just love to get some bonus points going into the round of 13. He's pretty much locked at this point with all the attrition and drivers that have wrecked out. Even if Tim Kourting blew up right now and Tom Kourting won the race, Tim Kourting would be locked in. Very, very likely that would be the case if it happened. Not saying it is. Don't want to jinx anything either. Don't want to throw out the commentator curse and cost him a title shot. Staying caution free so far, as they're going to get the white flag next time by. They're kind of stretching it out. Everyone else is kind of settled into line, as the real drama lies right here with Tom Kourting in that 90 truck. White flag waving as they come roaring down the front stretch here. Atley with the lead at the moment, holding off the Kourting brothers, Trevor Walker, Matthew Fastnaught. Tom Kourting in a must-win situation here, definitely knows what's on the line as he's rolling through turn 1. He's only got Atley Wiese to fight with right here, as he's got a run on the back bumper of that 19 Dodge Ram. The tricky turn number 2 here. It looks like he's going to have the momentum and stick it on the inside. Tom Kourting charging through right now. Jack Ross heartbreaking in 2. Tom Kourting takes the lead away from Atley Wiese in a must-win scenario here. And 2 for 2, we might just see the must-win scenario playing itself out here at Pocono. As they come around the end of turn 3, my bad. Tom Kourting rolling to the checkered flag, taking home the victory today at Pocono, and locking his way in to the round of 13 in exciting fashion here in the USA Truck Series. So mark that up as the Kourting brothers locked in, as well as the Walker brothers locked in. So we doubled up on the brother duos this season, as we've got the Kourting brothers and Walker brothers. We're going to have a brotherly fight unlike any other for the championship battle. Heartbreak's going to come down to Jack Ross, though, as nothing's considered official yet. I got to tally up those points. We might have had something else bizarre happen that I didn't catch. But Jack Ross is likely out of the playoffs, due in part to Tom Kourting's win here today. TKM is surely going to be proud of the results here for their team, getting both trucks into the playoffs. It's kind of fascinating. We got a bunch of teammate contenders. We got the Trevor Ventures team with Jordan, Trevor locked in. You got the Jeffrey Gerald and Chaz Chadwick duo locked in. Kourting duo locked in. So a lot of it's going to be team tactics throughout the championship this season. With only 10 races left to go in the winter season here. It's far from winter right now, but this is when the series started, was back in January. Exciting finish here today at Pocono, and we'll likely be treated to another exciting finish with the Busch Series here in the next couple days as well. And if everyone wants to stay tuned in, I am going to keep the stream alive as I tally up the points. Turn on some music here in a moment after I get everything saved up. Make sure. Yep. Tom Kourting takes home the win today at Pocono and locks his way into the round of 13. Alrighty, so I'm gonna log into the Discord, voice chat, and anyone else that wants to hop in, feel free. As we're gonna get the points tallied up here live on the broadcast. It'll take just a moment. It might take about 15 minutes, so if you just want to settle in and in the booth, we've got the 09 of Matthew Fastnaught, fresh off of his top 5 here at Pocono today. How was the truck out there, my man?
It was good. Fell back at some points. Pit strategy was a little iffy at points, but just happy we were able to keep in the top 5 all day.
And with that finish today locked you into the playoffs for the round of 13. You excited for the first round of the playoffs here in a couple weeks?
Yeah, definitely. It was a real shame when we missed it last year, so the whole 09 crew is just ready to move on and get these playoffs over with and hopefully make it to the round of 3.
Stellar. That's awesome. Any more input on your season for the next season with your truck team? What do you got going on there?
Well, as we put it on the broadcast, we're opening up an all-star truck, hoping to get some good runs in there, and me in the 09 and the 07, just hoping to make the playoffs and get to the main stretch of the East and West Series and make a run at the championship.
So with the 08 truck becoming vacant with Al Bunch selling his assets, are you going to try to get that number 08 to add to your roster for the all-star truck perhaps?
Oh yeah, we're definitely looking at that one. It's one of we've whittled it down to 3 options, and that is definitely one of them.
Cool. Yeah, and what kind of all-star are you looking to try and get? Cup drivers in it? Maybe ARCA riders to fill the seat? What were you thinking?
Well, we're planning on putting our ARCA guy in there a couple times, and maybe a couple cup drivers if we can get him to come down. So, just kind of anyone who's looking for a good time in the truck series. It's always pretty fun.
And this might be a little bit early, but are you still planning on sticking around in the truck series even if you're able to win the championship?
That's a tough one because I love running the Busch car every week, and of course the 2 series limit. And so if we take the checkered flag, I don't know, I might have to pull out of Busch because the truck means a lot to me. Put a lot of time and effort and money into the truck. So we'll see how the Busch season goes and how the truck season goes.
Well, and we're always happy to see you running good in the truck series. It's a fun series. It's going to be especially more exciting this summer with the East and West series. Mind to give a little bit of input on what you think about the new layout for the championship?
Oh, well, at first it was very confusing. I felt like an 80-year-old trying to understand technology, but after reading into it and listening you talk about it, definitely makes a lot more sense to me now, and I'm glad a lot of guys who would normally get no track time are getting almost guaranteed spots in every week, and I definitely think it's a good way to take the series moving forward, and I think it's going to help it grow.
Okay, and one more question I have for you. Who are you the most afraid of to fight for the championship for this season? Who's going to be the hardest one to beat that you think?
Definitely, I'd have to say Chaz Chadwick. Definitely scared of him, and it's either him or Atley Wiese. Those guys really, really good racers and threats to win in and out. I feel like we're not quite up to where they are in the 09 camp, but we're on our way.
Yeah, and Atley Wiese especially, this will be his last truck season, so it's going to be fun to see how he ends it on, if he ends it with a high note or not. So I do have the points all tallied up. For everyone that's still in the broadcast here, we'll go ahead and switch the screen over to that, and we'll see the confirmed tally on the championship going into the round of 13 here. So, Chadwick, as we mentioned, wins the regular season championship. 1 win on his name, 1 pole on his name. That means he's got 5, 6, 7, plus the 15 points that he had earned for winning the regular season championship. We also got Al Bunch that hopped in the booth here. If you wanted to mention or chime in, just go ahead anytime, Al Bunch. Al Bunch, of course, locked his way in. He was one of the drivers with a win. So our winners that are in on the round of 13, you got Chadwick, Bradley Reim, Atley Wiese, Al Bunch, and Trevor Walker. That's your first 5 locked in. Then you've got Jordan Walker, KASH, Jeffrey Gerald, and Tom Kourting with Phillip Leeds. That'll be the 10 drivers locked in on wins. And on points, we've got Tim Kourting, Matthew Fastnaught, and Meeperson, who have worked their way in on points. As you can see, Jack Ross was the first one knocked out in 10th place there. He only had 297 points, 30 points shy of Meeperson, who locked his way in. Matthew Fastnaught had 1 more point over Meeperson, and then Tim Kourting only had 10 more points over that. So everyone else is still going to be out there on track each week fighting for wins amongst these top 13 drivers, just like they do in the Real Life Cup Series. And that kind of sews everything up. We've got a little bit of a break until the next truck race hits on May 2nd, when everyone's going to go roaring into Talladega. I'm going to try to get some special paint schemes crafted for that race, and anyone else that wants special paint schemes, definitely chime in. We'll try to do it like a Talladega Nights styled race with some special paint schemes in tribute to Talladega Nights. Is there anyone else that wanted to make some comments before we close out the stream tonight?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Well, we had a pretty good race out here today. We started out decent route, mostly running side, just barely near the top 10. But did have a stumble and we fell back to 23rd. But overall, 08 team, whole ABI crew has just had a pretty good day at Pocono, the regular season finale. And since we do have a pretty good point position and we're pretty much high and dry, I think we could probably make it up into hopefully the final round and hopefully be even win a championship if we can. But just have to see what time tells for our 08 team. But overall, it's been a great day at Pocono. Practice laps, we did testing, and overall it kind of paid off. Even though we did have a mid-pack finish, it was still pretty good.
You definitely have the edge with the Dodge power plant, and with selling the team at the end of the season, you're in good position to have a good finish here at the end of the season. Your 1 win, of course, came at a super speedway earlier this year, so you probably feel pretty comfortable rolling into Talladega next, don't you?
Yeah, the last time we went out to Dega, I got 2nd place, which was the season finale here at Dega. A drag race between Guido Piano and me. Of course, Guido won the race in the championship while I finished second. But
Do you have any thoughts of upgrading your truck before the April 21st deadline to try and focus on maybe one track type or another? What do you think?
I think I'll probably focus more on the super speedway and probably just the regular cookie cutter tracks. But I think at the end of the season, of course, I'm still off my team.
And so, yep, I want to be the first one to congratulate you. Congratulations on making it into the round of 13, and we wish you the best of luck for the rest of the season and the next, the next season after that. You'll be in the summer season, correct?
Yeah.
Yep. Okie dokie. And I see Chris Harvey joined the booth. Was there anything you wanted to talk about before we close out the stream here this evening?
Just that I'm grateful, thankful for the season we had, the regular season that we had. I'm surprised, shocked that I did like as good as I did. Like with missing like most of the season.
Yeah, we I must admit, at the end of the season when we do our award ceremony, this charge from you and the 2 team is not going to go unnoticed. We didn't even see anyone else of the championship contenders put together the run that you and your team were able to put together in just 6 races time. I'm pretty sure you're still going to be a threat for wins here in the next couple weeks, even just to finish out the season. What do you feel about Talladega?
It's gonna be interesting for sure. I mean, hopefully we can avoid the big one because it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when it's gonna happen. I mean, and maybe get a win there. Maybe that would be like our best shot, maybe to get like into victory lane like this season.
Definitely. Was there a moment today when you thought you were going to get the win, or was it just too hard with all the talent that was around you? I mean, you had to fight some of the toughest contenders for the win here today. Happy with the top 10 on the end of the day at Pocono?
Yeah, I'm great. I'm happy with the top 10. I mean, I'm happy with most of the season we had top 10. Shocking, baffling, because like I did not expect to like do this good like out of the gates, like with all the competition being like all these veterans that were here like for so many years and stuff. Like running up front with them is just like it's crazy. It's like I got no words. Like it's crazy. Like
Yep, I must admit, you're probably the most exciting new prospect in the series, and definitely going to be a lot of eyes keeping track of your progress going forward. Thanks for hopping in.
one more thing, I just on that topic. I hope I can continue like impressing people and see where the cards fall for next season.
Yeah, no, we got some things in the works for your entry for next season already, and it's gonna be on the lines of what you got going right now. It's probably gonna be just a notch better even. So
my goal for the rest of the season is to at least get like one win maybe, and if not, I mean just try not to like just keep the truck in one piece. Like,
Yep. No, and you've done really good so far in your first 6 starts. No DNFs, 2 poles, 5 top 10s, and 3 top 5s. So it's not if, it's more a matter of time when you're going to be in victory lane. So thanks again. We're glad to have you in the series.
Yeah, and I'm glad to be here.
So,
thanks for everything you do with the broadcasts and everything, and keep up the good work.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I enjoy this. This is my happy zone. So thanks again. I want to say thank you everyone for tuning in. We got a good race here this evening and exciting championship implicating win. I'm going to go ahead and close out the stream, and it'll be another 2 weeks before we see the trucks in action. That'll give us a little bit of time to digest just what we had go on today. Thanks for everyone that joined the booth, and just, you know, the after race interviews. It's kind of hard to do it during the race because it bogs down the streaming rate so much. Hopefully some of y'all can tune in for the Busch Series race, which I don't know when I'll get to it. I might get to it maybe in the next couple days. But yeah, no, this was great. Hopefully y'all have a great, wonderful night. Sorry it was so late. Some of you, it's probably midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. And we'll catch you on the next one. Have a good night.
Thanks, and you too. Have a good night.